Chapter 13 Something Good to Eat. As Crane walked through the market the next morning, she heard talk of Severine on everyone's lips. "Did you see that woman in the green yesterday? I wonder if she'll be back," said the woman with flaky skin. "You think anyone missed a woman like that? The real question is, where is she coming back from?" said her friend, narrowing her pebble eyes. "No one seems to know anything about her." To a customer she said, "It's 15 for that hand of figs you've been touching for the last 5 minutes." The customer sucked her teeth and moved on. "When you're so pretty, everyone notices, eh?" Flaky Skin said. "Everyone noticed her, but nobody knows her. No one is her friend. No one is her family. Who are her people? It's very strange. Anyway, she probably won't be back today. She only seemed interested in the witch." "But did you see the witch today?" "Yeah, her arm looks bad," said Pebble Eyes. "It's a wonder she doesn't have some potions for that." Crean passed all the talk and spread out her cloth and arranged her oranges. She took a quick glance at the white witch, who was sitting with her eyes closed beneath her tree, as though she was sleeping. Drew's mother cleared her throat and said, "Morning, Corrine." "Morning, Miss Rootsing." Mrs. Rootsing darted her eyes at the witch and then back to Crean. "You have no need of what she's selling, you hear me?" Mrs. Rootsing said firmly. Crean nodded. After what had happened the day before, she wanted nothing to do with the witch. She carefully positioned herself out of the witch's line of sight. Drew peeked around her mother's sari, and Crean waved her over. "You won't believe who came to my house yesterday," Crean whispered. "Who?" "The woman in green, the same one from yesterday. Her name is Miss Severine." Drew frowned. "Why would she go to your house?" "My papa said she ducked in because of the rain. I don't think she went there on purpose." "Is your house on the main road?" Drew asked. "No, but they were walking together from the sea." "Did she have fish?" "No," Corrine said. "Who goes down to a fishing village and doesn't get some fish?" Drew asked. Corrine shrugged. "Papa said she got there too late." Drew's mother tucked a few long strands of her hair behind her ear, and cocked her head. The girls could tell she was trying to listen. "Who is she, anyways?" Drew whispered. "I don't know," Corrine answered quietly. "Nobody around the market knows who she is or where she's from," Drew said. "They can't know everyone who lives on the island, can they? I've lived here my whole life, and we never met before yesterday, and there are plenty of reasons to go to the sea besides fish." The girls looked up as a commotion started at one of the market entrances. Quick murmurs started. Severine had returned. She walked directly to Crean with a smile. "Hello again," Severine said. She held out some coins. Crean wore a smug look, mainly for the benefit of Pebble Eyes and her fresh friend Flaky Skin. "Hello, Miss Severine," she said, loud enough for everyone to hear. "Which ones would you like?" "You pick. I know they're all very good." Crean made a big show of choosing her best-looking, roundest, ripest oranges. Severine wrapped them and placed them into a woven basket that was hanging from her arm. All around them women covered their conversations behind their hands, but it was obvious whom they were talking about as her eyes darted between Severine and Corrine. Drew raised her eyebrows at Corinne as if she was urging her to do something. Corinne understood. "It's a beautiful day today," Corinne said. "You won't have to worry about the rain on a day like this." "Yes, it's a nice day for a walk," Severine replied. "Do you have a long way back to your house?" "No, not far," Severine said. "Then it shouldn't be any problem to get a lot of things." "I suppose I could." "What else will you be getting?" Crean asked. "I didn't manage to get any fish yesterday," Severine said, "but I think today I will have better luck." She smiled. Drew and Crean exchanged a quick look. That afternoon, when Corrine got home from the market, she wasn't entirely surprised to see Severine there. But she remembered Drew's question about the woman, and a little seed of worry planted itself in her chest. Severine stood in the kitchen fussing over a pot. Near her, the back door hung open, and Corrine saw her father just outside cleaning some fish from a pail. Corrine sniffed at the air and made a face. "What are you doing, Miss Severine?" she asked. "I offered to make dinner. It is the least I could do after taking up so much of your time and your father's yesterday," Severine said. Crean felt the worry in her chest begin to grow, but she smiled. "You shouldn't cook," she said. "You're a guest." She got between Severine and the stove and peered in. Severine tried to gently move her aside. "I insist on it," she said. "Besides, it's the woman who does the cooking in a family." Crean's chest tightened at Severine's words. She leaned over the pot and inhaled its scent. It didn't smell right. It didn't smell like any food she knew. Something about the dish was off. Something about Severine was off, too. Without a word, Corinne snatched up two dishcloths, grabbed the pot from the fire, and threw its contents out the back door. Severine's mouth dropped open with shock, and then closed again in a straight, angry line. Hey! Pierre jumped out of the way just in time to see the contents of the steaming pot tumble down the hill. That's not the way Papa likes it, Corinne said. She shook her head at Severine as if she have known better. I've I'm going to have to start all over again with a clean pot. Crane washed out the pot, refilled it with water, and put it back on the fire. Since everything Severine had used was now sliding down to the fishing village, Crane went to the yard to pick some vegetables and then added a few she had bought at market. Sit, I can do this alone, she told Severine. Pierre stepped inside briefly and hissed in Crane's ear. Did you have to throw out her food? It didn't smell so bad. Maybe you could have just fixed it. He made a nervous smile at Severine. I think you don't cook too much, Miss Severine, Corinne said, but maybe I can show you a few things. Since she started doing the cooking a year ago, she's barely let me touch the stove, Pierre added. She thinks everyone's a terrible cook except her. The thing is, she's probably right. He nodded his head at a chair. Just sit and watch, he said. He went back out to the fish, but he moved close enough to the open door for Corinne to see him, and for him to see her. Severine returned Pierre's smile and sat down. Corinne felt Severine's eyes on her as she cut the sweet potatoes and the tomatoes, chopped the cilantro, and grated the ginger. Then Corinne tossed them all into the pot and stirred. As she cooked, the sharp, sweet smell of the ginger, tomato, and sweet potatoes rose out of the pot and filled the entire house. Corinne began to relax. She did not mind Severine looking at her as she worked. Corinne remembered the way Drew's mother watched Drew and her at the market, and she thought that was what mothers did. They watched. The worry that was growing in her began to fade. Pierre continued to clean the fish. The king's fish's silvery body was limp in his hands, and the scales fell to the ground like transparent leaves as he scraped them with his knife. He cut it open and took out the bones and the guts, and laid the fish flat and open for Crean to cook. Crean washed the fish, then filled its insides with herbs and squeezed oranges over it before she took it to the fire. How long ago did Crean lose her mother, Pierre? Severine asked. Pierre looked up at the first star that lit up the purple sky. Crean was still very young. Her mother had always been sick, delicate, like she didn't really belong with us. I guess it shouldn't have been a surprise, but it was. It must have been hard to manage with such a small child and you alone. The other fishermen's wives were happy to take care of her while I was at sea, and I took her out with me when I could. But Crean has no love for the blue like me. He winked at Crean. You must have been lonely yourself, Severine said. The fish sizzled, so if Pierre answered, Crean didn't hear it. I've been alone for a long time, myself, Severine said. How well does she remember her mother? Pierre pointed at the wax statue. That is her mother. Exact. She remembers. I won't let her forget. Severine turned towards Crean. It must be hard for you without her here. When Crean passed near Severine to pull one of the spices out of the cupboard, Severine reached out and touched her arm. Something about the feel of Severine's skin against her own and the way she leaned in, probing Crean's face, made Crean stiffen. Do you go to the witch often, Miss Severine? Crean asked. Corinne, Pierre said with alarm. Crean looked down to avoid her father's glare, but continued anyway. My friend Drew says the people only go to the witch to get magic for their problems. Corinne, stop, Pierre said. I'm so sorry, he said to Severine. Why don't you step outside a minute? It's a little too hot in the kitchen. Severine joined Pierre in the backyard. The two of them looked out over the ocean while Corinne watched from the open door. I understand why you love the sea, Pierre, Severine said. It's beautiful. Their spot on the hill gave them a wide view of the sea, where the waves had turned orange with the final rays of the sun. You're right, Severine. It can be lonely on the sea, Pierre said. On land, too, Severine replied. Pierre and Severine looked at each other. Severine reached her hand out to Pierre. Corinne darted to the door and yelled, Finished! She saw Severine pull her hand back. That was fast, Pierre said. I'm a fast cook, Corinne said. The three had dinner by lamplight, and that night, as her father put her to bed, Corinne could see in his face that he was thinking about the evening. She remembered how the creases around his eyes deepened with pleasure when the three of them sat talking. It's nice to have a lady around again, Pierre said. She's not like Mama, Corinne said. No, no one's like your Mama. I meant that. I know, Papa, I miss her too. She reached up and hugged him around the neck. She didn't know what to think about Severine, but she couldn't remember the last time her father had looked so happy. Do you like her, Papa? I think I do. Severine made Corinne feel strange, but her papa was a good judge of people. Then I'll try to like her. For you. Still, her heart beat fast with worry.